start the presentation.
All right, thank you very much for the opportunity granted. I am here to present on the topic Conceptual Misunderstanding in Algebra among senior high school mathematics teachers, prospective teachers, and students. Introduction. The relevance of mathematics in Ghana can never be undermined, and this was confirmed by Fletcher 2016. And in Ghana, as the first presenter said, failure in mathematics has a decisive influence in the choice of your tertiary education, and this was also confirmed by Fletcher 2016. And one of the contributing factors to the failure in mathematics is in algebra, which is an aspect of mathematics. And early 2007 also confirmed that indeed difficulties in algebra by students really affect their performance. Asiedu-Addo 2011 also said that the errors students made in algebra affect their performance when it comes to mathematics. Locally and internationally, there has been a series of studies on student performance, and one of them identified was by Dissou and Asiedu-Addo 2015, where they said that they identified that errors students made in linear equation word problem affect their performance. And according to the chief examiner's report, that's WAEC, West Africa Examination Council, reported that indeed students are not performing because of the errors they make on algebra. And these errors that they made in algebra affect their performance. But there has been numerous studies, both internationally and locally, on the performance of students based on the errors that they make and the misconception that they have. But one will agree with me that in learning condition, it is not only about students. It comprises of the teachers and the students as well. But there has been a limited study on both the students, prospective teachers, and the teachers when it comes to their performance in algebra. Always the attention is based on the students. So this study sorted that, okay, why don't we include the prospective teachers and teachers? Because in the academic setting, it is only not based on the students. Hence, the essence for this study. So through the gap identified through literature and the personal experience as a teacher is the rationale that motivated the researcher to carry out this study. Hence, the decision to look into this problem. Since research on both students, prospective teachers, and teachers' conceptual misunderstanding in more than one algebraic area is scarce. The methodology employed, the research employed, the study employed mixed research study, which is quantitative and qualitative. And specifically, the design was sequential explanatory design. The population involved were SHS students of Kumasi Metropolis, and then SHS mathematics teachers of the same schools, which were selected from a neighbor of Kumasi district. And then level 400 mathematics education students from one of the pronounced mathematics education institution in Ghana. The sample and sample size. SHS 2 students, that is senior high school second year students, 110 students were selected. Level 460 students were also selected. These are the prospective teachers. And then 40 teachers from the schools whereby these students were selected were also included. The sampling technique involved convenience, purposive, and a simple random sampling. The convenience was used in selecting the schools. The purposive was selected in using the mathematics teachers and then the teacher education students. And the simple random sampling was employed in selecting the student and the participant in the study. The data collection instruction was test and interview. The procedure was administering the test. After the test, the interview followed. And the interview was a semi-structured interview guide was used in the study. And because the design was sequential explanatory design, the data analysis was followed by quantitative, followed by the qualitative approach. The study identifies 7 conceptual misunderstandings among the participants, and these were recognizing or thinking of like terms as different terms in tasks involving simplification of algebraic fraction, Recognizing or thinking a variable as a scalar in multiplication of algebraic fraction, seeing or thinking of algebraic fraction as symbols which are only assigned to names or labels or constants. Then we also looked at seeing or thinking of mathematical equation as similar to mathematical expression using mathematical reasoning in mathematizing algebraic expression. So these were the 7 that were identified. Now, analysis and discussion of the 7 identified misconceptions identified. So the first one, which was seeing algebraic expression as different one. Participants were asked, and on this conceptual misunderstanding, 48% of the students depicted this form of conceptual misunderstanding, and 28% of the prospective teachers also depicted this form of conceptual misunderstanding. And one of the tasks in the test, which required the participant to simplify 2x over 2x. But this participant couldn't identify that both the numerator and the denominator are the same. So they saw this as different terms. Hence, they used different approach to simplify. One of the simplification they gave was that we need to, because there's a fraction down, we need to rationalize the denominator. And those was the approach that they used to simplify. That's true, which also was the same, similar. They have the same terms. The participants, rather, used the same approach and simplify. And when they were asked, the response they gave was that it is an algebraic fraction. And to simplify it, one needs to rationalize the denominator. Hence, the multiplication of both the numerator and the denominator by 2x in 1 and 2. And another thing that came out of the interview, which is not here, was that
you have 3 minutes more. You have 3 minutes more to the presentation.
Right.
Great.
Then the second conceptual misunderstanding was that this participant just recognized variable as a scalar multiple in multiplication of algebraic fraction. Here, 75% of the participants of the students identified this, while 57 of the prospective teachers and 15% of the teachers also came out with this. So it means that the number of both the prospective teachers depicted this form of conceptual misunderstanding, whereby they were supposed to simplify this. They treated this variable as a scalar, which was a conceptual misunderstanding. The third one was using or assigning variables to symbols, which are only assigned to names or constants. Here, the task demanded that the variables were assigned to units or varying quantities, but these participants only assigned the variables to the name that they identified. Now, the reason was that always, whenever you see a task in a variable in a task, they are supposed to be assigned to the names or the constant that is observed. And out of the 77% of the teachers, 77% of the students depicted this, while 65% of the prospective teachers and 15% of teachers also depicted this form. The third one was seeing or thinking mathematical equation as similar to mathematical expression. When the participants were asked the meaning of this expression, they said it's an equation. So the participants were not able to identify the difference between equation and expression. And another expression was treated as an equation. And out of this, 63% of the students depicted this, while 52% of the prospective teachers and 15% of the teachers also depicted this. The fifth conceptual misunderstanding was that they use arithmetic reasoning in mathematizing algebraic expression. Here, some keywords were used in the translation of word problem into mathematical problem. And one of the keywords they use in this task, where it contains the term sharing, they said the term sharing in the task calls for the use of the concept of ratio and proportion. The sixth one identified was that using mathematical reasoning, interpreting algebraic expression. Here, they use syntactic and static translation. The order in which the words appear is how the participants translated it. An example was the number x. The question was, when a number is subtracted from 6, the result is 2 times 5 less than the number. So the order in which the terms appear is how the translation was made. So the number is represented as
1
x,
minute left for the...
and then subtracted from 6. is equal, the result then equal to 2 times 5. So the order in which the words appear in the text was how this participant used in their simplification. The 7th one was thinking an equation as the only step marker to indicate the next step of procedure. The task required the participant to simplify and make y the subject. But in their simplification, they only concentrate on the right-hand side of the equation because they see the equation as only a step marker to indicate the next step of action. Conclusion: the study revealed that senior high school teachers, prospective teachers, and students have some conceptual misunderstanding on senior high school algebra. And the most wonderful thing was that out of the 7 conceptual misunderstandings identified, 6 were also with the teachers. So the teachers also depicted this 6 out of the 7 conceptual misunderstandings that were with the students. The observed consistency between the groups' conceptual misunderstanding is likely to influence the teaching that many students experience in algebra because the teachers themselves were having conceptual misunderstanding. Conclusion: the ability to teach and apply their algebraic concept clearly without conceptual was limited when it comes to both the teachers. The prospective teachers and some teachers' conceptual understanding of algebra is not good enough to assist learners to understand algebra. The reappearing of same conceptual misunderstanding is due to the fact that when individuals construct learning, they become attached to the notion they have constructed.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, President.